Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives about recent important news. With us today, we're happy to have him back right after Labor Day. He doesn't wait to get to work. Bernard Turion, Chairman, CEO, HPQ Silicon, trades on the TSX Venture under HPQ, and for our friends in Europe, under UGE on Frankfurt. For those of you who are new to the story, HPQ is planned to become a vertically integrated producer of solar-grade silicon metal, with the goal eventually of manufacturing solar cells at the lowest cost and the lowest carbon footprint. Now, that sounds like a lot, may even sound like a lot like lip service, but not when you consider that they've already proven and advanced this PUREVAP process with world-class partners, including PyroGenesis Canada, who's a global leader in plasma torch technologies, and Apollo Solar, one of the world's leaders in renewable energies. Here to talk with the latest patent application, Bernard. Welcome back, my friend.
Thanks, George.
Last press release and the interview was near the end of August, third week of August. Mm-hmm. And that was talking about the commencement of commercialization. This one is about your second patent application. So this little project you embarked on a couple of years ago started to get serious, no?
It's very serious. It's very serious. It's very big. It's very fun too. It's very unique. We're literally the only junior player in town, and we're about to completely change the industry of the silicone, manufacturing silicone. And it's much bigger than we originally thought when we started this. When we started this, we thought, we'd go solar. Solar is a big market. There's so many other applications, so many other potential of our technology. I think we barely begin to scratch the surface.
So before we get into the technicalities or the layman's overview of what this patent application is and what it's protecting, let's talk first about impact. Specifically, what does this patent application signal to the industry, to the silicon industry?
What we have is serious, and we're serious about developing it. One of the key aspects it covers is literally the fact that we can operate vacuum under continuous mode. That's the key to our technology, really. And this specific patent covers that part of it. And that's just what it is. It's just that the PUREVAP is really a revolutionary technology that's going to change the processes to make silicone metal and any other type of process that requires a carbothermic action to be created. And the key aspect of it, and the key question mark that all the industry always asks, well, you can't keep vacuum continuously operating on the system. It's not going to work. You know how this is. We've been resolving this issue. When I say we, I like to make it clear when I say we, Pyro has been doing that, not me. I'm not the brain behind this. They are. I'm the marketing guy and finance guy and the business guy, but they are the technological brain behind this.
Don't sell yourself short.
It's still the fact. Sure. The fact is that PyroGenesis, we have access to world-class experts in all the fields. Okay, it's impossible for a company like HPQ to replicate this. So I want to give them the full credit that's behind this. The process has a lot of naysayer. Okay. And we've proven them wrong since the beginning. We have had naysayer about a patent application, naysayer about the technology, naysayer about scaling up. Basically, when you invent a new process of disruptive, the only thing you will get from industry experts is no, yet, not, can't work. So once you start getting accustomed to that concept and you advance in the way we've been doing it since the beginning, which is small milestone, advancing, you then get to a point where the next stage that we are is proving that the system works at a commercial scale. That's about to come, around the corner, literally. When we'll wait until it's done to say it. We won't put too much timeline forward, but it's coming really around the corner. And it's an additional layer of IP protection. And as I said in press release, our strategy is to have a mix of IP protection and having trade secrets. So you can't really copy it and everything else, because there are countries that don't really respect IPs and those type of things. Make sure you have a good, protecting the technology you're developing. That's what we're really doing. From a 30,000 layman's view, the aspect of our process is being able to work under vacuum and the continuous, and the key aspect of that patent covers that.
All right, and here's the important part, is a third-party validation. Because look, a lot of small cap CEOs will say, you're using some pretty big words here, revolutionizing, changing the manufacturing of silicon. Those are some pretty big claims, and not that they're not accurate, but I always like third-party validation. And this is what Peter Pascali had to say, the president of PyroGenesis. And for everyone who doesn't know who that is, or more importantly, PyroGenesis, this is a company whose technology runs on U.S. aircraft carriers right now, as an example, whose technology is being used by multi-billion-dollar corporations in Europe and Asia. So, they know what they're doing. And here's what Peter said. He said, at PyroGenesis, we've developed an approach to protect IP, and we have the patent portfolio to prove it. We only engage in patent applications where we feel A, we will prevail with an award, and B, that there's a commercial application to protect. So how much does it mean to you to have Peter backing up exactly what you're saying in terms of how the PUREVAP process is going to revolutionize the manufacturing of silicon?
Well, it's just being incredibly consistent in what we've been doing. PyroGenesis and Peter have been very supportive of our project, and supporting of our approach to developing the technology, the process, and the entire business scope that we're taking in the silicon field. At every step of the way to keep supporting everything else, and it's always been it's always part of the execution of what we're doing. From the beginning that we started in 2015, it was always go to commercial scale. That was the key point. Those were always the milestone or the trigger for Pyro's continuing participation in the project. And what this means is we've reached another one of those milestones, confirming everything that we have. So it's like we're not the same story we were in 2015, 2016 when we started. We're far from it, much more advanced, much more secure in where we're going. The market has evolved, like any market keeps evolving in an incredible, tremendous space, but our position has improved tremendously.
Yeah, and the inference has to be that PyroGenesis and you guys aren't going to go, especially Pyro. I mean, they've got so many successful lines of business already. They're just not going to waste their time on, if they had nothing else, you might say, well, this is throwing a, they're taking a flyer. Let's throw something at the wall and see what sticks. But they're so successful on multiple levels that they're not going to be wasting their time. So I think the clear inference here for outsiders, people outside the company like me, is that this is serious. And how serious? I want to grill you on this, okay? Because I did pick up the word commercialization came up in both your quote and his. So I read his quote. The second part being, they're confident they will only do it where they feel there's a commercial application. We heard that. Your quote said, PUREVAP is ready to solve the real world challenges facing silicon markets today. Again, there's one of those very big claims, right? Completely revolutionize the silicon industry and prepare us for commercialization. This is the second press release where you've used commercialization. Peter's now using it. What's going on out there? If I can grill you guys a little bit, are you starting to feel? More and more interest coming in from the industry?
We are. The plan is advancing as we've always anticipated. It's sort of normal as we get closer to having a commercial plant or a pilot plant to validate commercial scalability and commercial development, that we will start now to focus much more on commercialization and the end product. And I was asked, basically there's so much technical information and everything else. How can you explain the story? Because It seems to be a complicated story, but fundamentally, it's very simple, okay? The PUREVAP technology we've developed allows us to make cheaper both CapEx, an investment to enter the space, and cheaper to make a material with a massive addressable market, $15 billion and growing to $24 billion, okay? And so the market that we're in is cheap, and we have a process that's much more efficient. It's almost too good to be true, but the part about too good to be true will stop when we start the pilot plant. It won't stop in the first week. Like, let's make sure. I already hear the retail shareholders going, when the machine turns on, it's not going to work out. But it's part of the process. And within the next months, okay, and in 2020, it will reach a point where it will be a self-evident reality that the PUREVAP has revolutionized the silicon market industry. I'll give you an example. I listened today to the conference call of one of the big players in the industry, okay? One of their big issues is that it's a product at the margin where basically it's always demand and supplies that plays around. But every time they try to adjust supply and demand, okay, they either cut 30,000 tons of capacity or add 30,000 tons of capacity. There's no in between. Okay.
Yeah, they don't have the ability to have that flexibility.
They don't have the flexibility. Operation. We can start 2,500 ton. We can go cherry pick to the best market, and we can be the lowest cost producer. Market is $8 billion just for the traditional silicon. Not talking about solar, not talking everything else. So we're incredibly well positioned to start thinking about commercialization. Okay. One of our commercialization way is going to be going down the solar route with Apollo and working on these things. Others we'll start talking more and discussing more as we finalize some discussion that we have ongoing and everything else. The key point is market is massive. We can do it cheaper than anybody else, and we can start at a scale that nobody can match us. It's a pretty darn good business to be in.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you're like the Web 2.0 company where you can come in, specialize, produce exactly the size that you need, and get a great price for it, which is where Web 2.0 took us. So you're now applying that to the manufacturing of silicon. And I got to admit, I've always been excited, but now it feels like something has changed in the wind. Second patent. You're actually saying it in press releases, and I know your peers are reading it, your competitors are reading it, everyone's reading it.
I know my competitor is reading it. I was sort of laughing because when you issue a press release, you get sort of report where the document is downloaded the most. And I look, says, in China? Why is it downloaded more in China? So I must be starting.
They're seeing this now and saying, ready to solve real world challenges, completely revolutionize the silicon industry. That was your quote from your press release. So I'm excited about what's about to happen at the company, and I think it's really exciting that we just came off Labor Day, and bam, HPQ is already putting out news. You're already broadcasting to the market. Last word to you to your shareholders and everybody. What should we be looking for as everyone settles into their away from vacation mode, back into work mode? What should we be looking for at HPQ between now and the end of the year?
The start of the pilot plant, ongoing discussion about commercialization, new product line that we're looking at entering into, strengthening of product line we're looking at developing. We're really going to be focused more on creating different sort of like product line approach. Okay, which all centered on the PUREVAP. Basically, the PUREVAP has an incredible capacity to turn raw materials into silicon metal of any purity that we want to, and then we're going to start seeing which one are the most attractive lines of businesses and the one that can generate the quickest the amount of return. That doesn't mean that it's going to happen the first time around and everything else, but we are talking about addressable markets that are enormous. Okay,
And you have the versatility. The great thing is you don't have to. You can look at so many different markets and micro produce for each one if you want, as opposed to your competitors that are forced to produce for one market in a mass batch because they can't specialize. They can't scale it down.
You know, I could start with long dissertation about explaining what are the technical advantage of our process versus our competitor. I'll give you one. As I said, I was listening to a conference call of my competitor today. One of the issue the analysts were asking was like, well, what's your inventory level? Okay. Remember, 30,000 ton per year capacity, 6.5 tons. Requires a lot of capital invested in your raw material. Okay. 4.5 tons, 2,500 specific. That plays into the entire economics cycle of it. One of the key points that people don't realize is silicon metal. There's no competitive advantage between producer A or B. You know, can you get your electricity cheaper? You know, the big boy has an incredible advantage. He controls the carbon source. Okay, for everybody else, it doesn't affect me, but it controls everybody else. But if you look at the price that it costs, it's in a very tight bracket, and 80% of that cost, okay, is unflexible. The only solution is on or off a plant. We're completely changing that dynamics, and we're below their cost. So what's he going to say? I'm going to undercut you. You can't. So that's the key point. And as we get closer to demonstrated at commercial scale, which is what the Gen 3 is going to do, then it's going to become even more fun to go out and market and commercialize the technology.
Yeah, unbelievable, Bernard. Unbelievable to think that you started all this and just 3 years ago, or 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, and look where you are today, and with great partners, and you're filing patents. I mean, this is serious business now. I joked about that at the beginning, but this is serious business. You guys are accomplishing some pretty serious things. Otherwise, let's face it, your partners are going to keep working. You're not going to be filing patents, and you're not going to be talking about commercialization. So I am looking forward, man.
We've invested a lot of money on IP development and protection. It's we don't spend a lot of money in marketing and IR and everything else other than you, but that's, some people do criticize me using you. I don't know. They don't like your face. Maybe it's a back screen behind they don't like anymore,
Well, I don't got the garage. Remember, they thought I was doing this out of my garage or something like that. So is this better?
It's a bit better. We'll put a picture of the PureVap behind. Oh, no, we can't. I should give myself one. Anyway, this is the point. Lost my train of thought, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, that you've invested a lot of money and kept your expenses very low.
Yeah, no, that was the point. It's like the investment in the IP and in the trade secrets and everything else is very high, but we know it's going to pay a very high dividend to our shareholders, those that have the patience to stay for the duration, and those that will have the wisdom of knowing when to enter. Because I get a feeling that a lot of people are sort of like, well, we can wait a little bit longer. We're not like the marijuana space. It's not the same thing. We sell something that actually does have a real usage other than getting you high.
Not all that glitters is green at the end of the day, right?
Exactly.
Bernard, thanks for joining us, man. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. I'm very excited. This is now investing season. Everyone's back. Summer's done. Kids are going to school. People are hunkering down and getting serious. And business happens. So the next 12 months is going to be awesome to follow and awesome to watch. We can't wait to have you back on.
I'll be coming.
You've been watching Bernard Turiel, CEO at HPQ Silicon, which trades on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol HPQ, and for our friends in Europe on Frankfurt under UGE. You've heard what he has to say. Now you got to go do your due diligence. Get to Agoracom, punch in the company's name or symbol. Go do your research there. We got all the great information that you need. Watch, if you're discovering HPQ for the first time and you love renewable energy, then you've got to watch the interviews that Bernard and I have done 2019. Get over to the company's website. We got the link. But one of the best parts at the end, get into the CEO verified discussion forum. Bernard is there. We verified him. Agoracom's the only place that we verify the CEO, so you know who you're talking to. When you have questions, post your questions. Get your answers. Get serious about your due diligence. And for me, anytime a CEO makes themselves accessible like that online, that is another layer of confidence that you have to take seriously. So, you've got the tools, you've got the information, the rest is up to you. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.